Great question. So I am not from Birmingham. I'm not, I didn't even know really anything at all about incubators or accelerators or anything like that. And I'm from Alabama, but I'm a small town in North Alabama, and did my undergraduate degree in international business, and then went back to get my MBA in strategy and went through that entire experience, and then was recruited to go to work by Accenture. And so worked for Accenture for a number of years out of Atlanta, and I was in their technology strategy kind of practice area. Was an analyst there, did a lot of work there. And while I was in college as an undergrad, and then really even into my graduate years, I had started my own web-based business. And so got some experience as an entrepreneur and kind of what that meant to have a business, and it was all new to me, and I was just trying to figure it out. And so I had entrepreneurial experience, and then when I went to Accenture, I had kind of the big company experience. And then after I'd been in Accenture for about 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, I got a call from someone in Birmingham who knew about this organization, which at the time it wasn't called the Innovation Depot, it was called the Entrepreneurial Center. And so called me, and the person said, that the person who is running the organization wants to expand the organization and needs some help in really running and managing sort of the day-to-day with all the startup companies, and also sort of the operations of the organization as well. And they thought I'd be good for the role, and I really had no idea, and really honestly had no interest. And because I was busy, I had a job, I was traveling a lot, and the person said, no, well, I think you just come and talk with the woman who is running this organization, who started the organization. Come and talk with the founder. I think you'll be impressed. And so I drove over from Atlanta, and I met with our founder, Susan Matlock, and I was immediately impressed with Susan and just blown away by the success she had and all the achievements of the organization and the path that she had really carved for the organization in Birmingham, and was excited about the opportunity to come in and grow that and do more of that and be a part of the growth of this new transition of the organization. And so I left Accenture and sold my house in Atlanta and packed up and moved to Birmingham, and got in. And when I got here, there were essentially 2 incubators in Birmingham. There was the Entrepreneurial Center, and then the UAB Incubator. And this organization managed and ran both of those incubators.
But they're separate organizations.
They were separate physical organizations, separate locations, separate organizations. One was owned by UAB, one was a private. But we had a contract with UAB, so we managed both. We managed the UAB incubator and our incubator. So I spent a lot of my time at the UAB incubator managing that, and getting to understand what the role was, and helping the companies, and trying to manage the organization as best I could under the leadership of Susan. And then we began to think about how to expand the organization, and we looked at how we're going to do this. Do we want to buy more buildings, or do we want to combine everything? And so eventually what we decided to do was purchase a larger building, the one we're in now, renovate, and then essentially combine the 2 incubators into one incubator, one program. And we went, and UAB was fully supportive of that. They felt like that was the best idea it got them out of the business of running and managing an incubator, but it allowed us to be a partner with UAB, which is very important from a credibility standpoint and just the reputation that UAB had. And so we then worked to put the organization together. We closed the other 2 incubators on a Friday. We opened the new incubator on a Monday. We changed the name from Entrepreneurial Center to Innovation Depot. And since then, we've just honestly been growing and continuing to try to bring in the new companies and continue the pattern.
How many companies would you say started here? Like whenever y'all made the transition,
we probably had about 30, I would say, and 25 to 30 when we started. It's over 100. I mean, it varies. It varies. It's incredible. It varies just because we constantly have new companies that we accept, moving into the Innovation Depot, and then we also constantly have companies that have grown
Yeah.
and that are graduating out. So there's this constant churn.
Yeah. Like
Constant
freetextbooks.com, they just moved to
Absolutely.
Avondale.
Yeah, just graduated. Yes,
That's
sure
awesome.
did. Just graduated. They wanted to have kind of a big warehouse and an
Mhm.
office in one location, and
Yeah.
Avondale was the only place they could find it. Jonathan's told me he wants to have his headquarters back in the
Really?
Innovation District, around
Yeah.
or close to the depot.
It's
but
the,
for right now, to have
Yeah.
a warehouse, that was the only place he could find
Yeah.
one.
It's the whole like atmosphere and just
It
inside
is.
of town
It is.
that I just gravitate toward because Avondale's a lot of the food and a lot of the beer. And
It is.
stuff, so.
And I think that's great. I think
Yeah.
Avondale to me is very much sort of the cultural aspect. Like you said, the food.
Millennials.
The venue, the music venues, that kind of thing. I think the balance of that is that for where you want to work and come to work and have that interaction with other companies and other young entrepreneurs, Innovation Depot in the area around us will kind of become that anchor.
Yeah.
And then you've got sort of this whole corridor then of Innovation Depot, the area around us, almost like an innovation district. You've got what's happening in Avondale with the food and the music and all that kind of cultural scene. So you've got the connector then between the two, and I think it's really exciting everything that's happening.
That's
Really
for sure.
exciting.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, and just another quick question. So this was a Sears. This is the Sears.
It was, yeah. It was a
Okay.
Sears retail store, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And so was this vacant for a couple of years before y'all made the transition?
20 years.
Okay, so this was nothing.
This
for
was
20
totally
years.
empty. Yeah.
Wow.
It was built the building was built in 1940. Was the largest Sears, I think, in the country. I know it for a while. I mean, it was like one of their flagship stores.
Yeah.
And it was from 1941 until 86.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 86, Sears closed. They changed their model. They moved away from kind of the big stores to the smaller regional stores. And so this building was vacant from 86 until we bought it in 2006. So 20 years it sat here empty. Couple of things. Well, first and foremost, I mean, just on a purely, nuts and bolts, is managing this organization and our team of people and making sure that everyone here is aligned with our mission and our focus of supporting and serving the companies that are here, the startup companies that are here. So that's the blocking and tackling.
Yeah.
That's like priority one every day. In addition to that, the roles are, for me, my role is being a community liaison, right? So being represented in the community, interacting with all of our community partners and stakeholders. So the university is important, the corporate community is important, the public sector with the city and the county is very important. But having those relationships to make sure that we are pushing forward as a community to support entrepreneurship, innovation, the growth of that kind of ecosystem, and Innovation Depot being the epicenter for all that activity. We are trying to, I don't want to say push, but make sure that we are guiding and that we are steering and being the catalyst for a lot of the activity. Make sure that we are focusing. For example, with all the talk about the Innovation District and what that's going to look like, we're making sure that when our companies are ready to graduate Innovation Depot, that when they're looking for where they're going to go and they want to stay close to Innovation Depot, that the development that happens around us is aligned with the needs of startup companies or early stage companies. So infrastructure, the connectivity, all the different pieces that we know are important because of the companies that we've helped grow here. When they graduate, making sure that the city is engaged and UAB understands that they are an important piece and they're a driver as well. So there's the internal. My job is the internal, managing this team, our team here, making sure that the building, the facilities, and that all the companies are receiving the things they need. But then externally, it's being a liaison to the community and to all of our partners to make sure that they are fully aware of what's happening here and then what they are doing and what we're doing. There's a couple, so I'll answer that in two ways. One, I'll answer sort of a struggle, or I think of it more as a challenge. I guess is it. But I'll answer it both for me personally in just history of what I've done, and then as the organization, challenges for the organization. So for me personally, one of the biggest challenges, I guess, early on when I took over the role as CEO was understanding that the skills needed to be successful in the past were not necessarily the same skills that we needed to be successful going forward. And so you can sum it up, boil it down to what got you here won't get you there, right? That's a great book, which I would encourage everybody to read. It's a great book. And it made me think, because when you step into a role like this, for me personally, the challenge was, gosh, well, I'm filling some really big shoes. Yeah. This is a big organization. It's very high profile. It's really important to the community. And gosh, I better just keep doing the same thing we've always done, because it was successful in the past. And if I keep doing the same things, I'll be successful. And I had to step away from that and really think that you have to have the right skills and the right leadership at the right time for what's going on at that moment in time. And Susan was such a remarkable leader and such a phenomenal champion for entrepreneurs and an incredible mentor for me. And she led this organization and got it to the point we were at when I took over. And the skills that she had and the leadership that she brought, I had to realize that that's not necessarily the same skills and the same leadership that the organization needs now to go forward. It's a different set.
You have to continue to reinvent yourself.
That's it. That's part of it, right? And just understand that, hey, look, just because we did these things in the past and it worked and it got us here, we can't just simply replicate that and do it again.
You can't just repost content all the time.
That's right. Exactly. You're right. So it was really, for me, the challenge was thinking through, okay, how do you balance being respectful of the previous leadership and all the success? How do you not lose that because it's who you are, but at the same time, how do you evolve and think about ways that you can bring new skills and new leadership to an organization to move it forward? So for me, that was the challenge early on. And then the other piece of that is understanding that we have, as an organization, I had personally, so many different groups of stakeholders. I've got employees, I have all the companies in this building, I have our investors, I have our corporate partners, I have our university partners, and so I have all these different stakeholders who have expectations of me and the organizations. It is, and sometimes the expectations aren't even the same. I mean, sometimes they're totally different, right? Exactly. And so having to balance all that was a little bit of a challenge early on. And I've just tried to understand and fully embrace the different I don't want to say the different perspectives, but the different expectations of all the stakeholders and how to make sure that we're all kind of focused on the same path. So that was a challenge. As an organization, the challenges are things like the changing landscape of entrepreneurs and what entrepreneurs need and what they want. I mean, if you think, even 5, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, for sure, but 5 years ago, if you wanted to start a software company, the resources you needed, hardware, servers, rack space, all these things, are totally different than the things you need today, right? I mean, today, you can start a company with an iPad and the cloud. Right? And it's more about the connectivity and leveraging the resources as opposed to building them out and owning everything yourself. And so the barriers to entry have changed. And so by when I say the challenging landscape, our job is to help entrepreneurs and support entrepreneurs and help them be as successful as possible. And the resources we provide to help them do that is changing and evolving, right? It's less about the sitting in a room and listening to someone talk to you about how to build a database, and it's more about how do you collaborate with peers and make sure you have the right workforce and the people that you can hire that have the right skills and the right relationships, and it's just we have to make sure that we're constantly evolving as well
Mm-hmm.
to support the entrepreneurs, because the things they need to build their business is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure as an organization that Innovation Depot is as relevant 5 years from today as it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's the challenge for us as an organization, is make sure that we're staying up to speed or ahead of the curve, and we're kind of setting a standard in what it means to be a support organization for entrepreneurs.
So when a new company comes in, do you set out like in front of the mission of the Innovation Depot what you guys are trying to do, and have them kind of mold into that same mission?
We do.
Okay.
I mean, companies apply to be here,
Yeah.
right? And we screen them pretty heavily on the front end, and we're looking for growth potential, full-time commitment, market validation is really important for us. And then the last piece really is it, do they have funding, or can we help them with funding? We think we can help them raise
Yeah.
funding or secure funding in some way. So we're looking at all those different pieces, and then it has to fit within the broader technology umbrella, so to speak. So whether that's a straight up technology company, or it's a technology enabled product or service, or an engineering company, or a biotech, a medical device, so there has to be some technology involved there. But once they apply and we meet with them and kind of go through all that, we outline what the program here is about and what our expectations are. And our expectations are that you will participate in the program, you will be an active member of the community here within the Innovation Depot, that you will meet with us, myself and my staff, on a regular basis to discuss your business, your growth, your finances. You have to share your financial statements with us to make sure that we can help bring resources to the table, and we can help identify problems when they're small before they become huge problems, right? So there's an obligation on both sides, an expectation on both sides.
So just for instance, on a kind of negative standpoint, what if a company doesn't fulfill like an obligation financially, maybe, and they're not at a good growth rate, and essentially that reflects on the Innovation Depot?
It does.
So how do you handle that?
Yep, we tend to, everything we do is very short term in terms of our relationships with the companies. So that benefits both sides. So if a company comes in the door and we accept them, they're not going to sign a 3-year, 5-year agreement to be here. They're going to sign at most a 1-year agreement to be here. So over the course of that year, if they're growing or not growing, we have the flexibility to come in and say, look, you're not growing, or we're not seeing your business model's changed. You may not really be a fit anymore here. And we talk through that, and then if we see it again at the next review point, we can say, look, you're not a fit, or you're not growing, and you're kind of just stable, and you're not taking advantage of all the resources we provide here. So this is not the best place for you, and we will tell them they have to go. We don't have to do it very often because we screen so heavily on the front end. But it does happen. I mean, it absolutely happens, and it's and sometimes they know it before we do, and sometimes we tell them, okay, you have to go now, right? But it's a very organic process, and we're looking for the consistent growth over time and the participation in our programs, and realizing that this isn't just a building where you come to work; it's a community, and you're part of the community, and we want and expect you to be involved and participate in this community. So the mission of the Innovation Depot, just without question, is to provide entrepreneurs with a competitive advantage in growing their business, period. And we do that through helping them attract customers, talent, press, funding, mentors. We give them flexible, scalable space, and we're showering them with resources or access to resources constantly. So your odds of being successful statistically improve dramatically by being in a facility at a program like Innovation Depot, as opposed to trying to start your own business at your house, in your garage, and make it on your own without ever having any assistance. I mean, it's just like anything else, right? I mean, if you wanted to go fly a plane, you're not going to go practice by getting in a cockpit by yourself without anybody helping you, right?
Exactly.
You're going to have people around you to say, hey, do this, think about this, make sure you understand this piece of it.
You gotta have mentors.
You do have to have mentors, and you have to have your
Exactly.
peers.
Exactly.
And that's the other important part of being in the depot is you're surrounded by other entrepreneurs that are doing the same thing you're doing. So not only can you learn from the programs and the training and the mentorship that we provide, you can learn from walking down the hall and talking to your neighbors and saying, gosh, who did you guys use for this piece? Or who's your accountant? Or who did you use for this piece of your software?
Yeah.
You can share and learn from each other. And I think that's a really important part. It's intangible.
It's the community.
It absolutely is the community piece. So that's really important. So our mission is very simple. We give entrepreneurs a competitive advantage in growing their business. That's it, very simple. And everything we do, everything my team does here, our team is focused on making sure that we are providing these entrepreneurs here with the advantages to being in a program where they are supported fully as they grow their business and develop their business. So that's the mission. The plans for the depot in terms of the next, I would say, 5 years are, we are the largest technology incubator in the Southeast currently. So we're the largest in square footage, number of companies, all those things. One of the, I think, 3 or 4 largest in the country. So we're a big one.
That shines such a light on our city.
It does, it really does.
I love that.
And so for us, and the opportunity is not to, hey, let's go build another one, or let's let's build more space. I think this is the right size, but the opportunity for us is to say, Innovation Depot, don't think of it as just a one and done place. Think of it as a platform or a tool, and how do we maximize this tool? How do we maximize this resource? And the way we do that is by looking for opportunities in the community that are aligned with our mission of supporting entrepreneurs, and then creating programs around those areas to drive impact. And so things like that we mentioned earlier in this conversation, having the right skills, having the right workforce, having the right people that can come to work for startup companies or that can create their own startup companies. Well, that's a technology workforce, right? And so Innovation Depot, in partnership with one of our companies here, Platypie, launched Depot U last year, which is a 10-week developer boot camp.
That's huge.
And it's focused on growing the workforce, right? That's a program that we can help drive, right? It's aligned with our mission, but it's a program.
It's a starting point.
Absolutely. It's absolutely. I see the same thing we're doing with the Velocity Accelerator, right? We open up applications worldwide. We're gonna take the 10 best ideas, the 10 best entrepreneurial ideas. We're gonna give them some cash. We're gonna give them a great place to work, and then we're gonna give them all the resources and all the infrastructure they need, so that over the course of 12 weeks they make a ton of progress and come out the other side as a viable business. Because if we're gonna have successful businesses that are going to grow and have an impact, you have to seed everything at the other end. You have to put a lot of things into the funnel because not everything's going to make it through. So if we do 30 companies through the accelerator over 3 years, maybe 5 of those will come out the other end and be big success or big growth companies, right?
It's got the quality so many times above the quantity.
You got it, absolutely.
So they do. They have 10 businesses every year.
They do. They'll go up to 10. I mean, if we think they're only, out of all the applicants we get, if there are only, we think 8 good ones, then we'll take 8.
See, that's good to hear, because at first I was thinking, well, y'all take really any company that can, that has money to lease out space. But it's good to hear that there is a competitive market even inside of inside of a business. There's even a competitive market, which is
and so for the accelerator we'll take up to 10 every year. For the Innovation Depot itself, I mean, it all depends on the space, and the movement of the companies, and the growth. I mean, we in an average year will bring in probably 10 to 20 new companies into the Innovation Depot. But again, I'm not interested in leasing spaces and renting office space. That's not my job. Our job at Innovation Depot is to look for the best companies with the best growth potential, we think, the best ideas, and make sure that we've got them here and are giving them the resources to be successful. It's not about, I'd rather have vacant space in the building
Yeah.
than just fill it with anybody.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
It's got to be right in line with our mission.